Back to school season is just around the corner. If you thought last year was expensive, this year is expected to cost even more. It'll cost families close to $4,000 more per child this year.
Today I went to Walmart to buy backpacks for my kids. And why is one backpack $21? $21 plus tax for a singular backpack. Y'all know I got 3 kids, so I had to buy 3 different backpacks. My total was $64 for 3 backpacks. And these are not no fancy high quality backpacks. This is Paw Patrol, Dinosaur, and Spider-Man. And my thinking is someone who makes $20 an hour has to work for 1 full hour to afford 1 backpack for their child. So what are y'all doing? Are y'all like taking out loans for back to school shopping? Because that's just the backpack plus the supply. We still got to get shoes, clothing, and if you live in a cold state, you got to get winter stuff, the lunch boxes, the reusable water containers. And I'm a reusable girly. I was gonna have my kids reuse last year's backpacks, but they tore them up. Like, these backpacks are falling apart, so rightfully so, I wanted to get them new backpacks. I was under the impression these were gonna be like $10 a piece. It really goes to show how much the economy has changed and how Walmart is not even affordable anymore. And I can only imagine the parents that are having to choose between buying a book bag for their kids and buying groceries.
Back to school shopping used to be pencils and a backpack. Now it's a full rebrand for a 7-year-old. And what I fear is happening is we're not shopping for the first day of school or school in general anymore. We're shopping for that first day aesthetic photo. Suddenly, every kid needs a matching bento box, Stanley Cup, and water bottle sling, and 14 first week of school outfits. Now moms are filming back to school hauls like they're personal shoppers for a mega influencer. Some of these parents are spending college tuition prices on back to school stuff just for their kid to lose their water bottle by Wednesday. I know that was me as a kid. And I see a lot of moms saying, oh, it's for confidence. No, babe. It's for content. All I can think about is how the lost and found is going to be worth thousands of dollars. And I don't know what mom needs to hear this, but your kid does not need an aesthetic. If your kid didn't manage to ruin their backpack or lunchbox from last year and you're reusing it, you are not a bad mom, you're a smart mom. Your kid does not need multiple lunchboxes. Back to school spending in the US hit over $41 billion last year. But yeah, let's spend $12 on a pencil pouch. Now it's a yearly aesthetic rebrand.
This whole back to school shit has me stressed the fuck out. Because why on my son's school supply list does he need 4 packs of crayons? 4 packs of 24 crayons. He needs a pack of 24 pencils. All the shit that they're asking for is clearly for the rest of the class. I'm sorry, but I'm buying my child his supplies and I'm labeling everything. And from what I heard, they put all these extra supplies in a bucket to help children that don't have supplies. Which, okay, cool, is understandable, but why should the parents or the teachers have to provide for this? Why can't the Board of Education do anything about this? My money is for my child and my child only. I'm sorry. But all those extra supplies, I do not give a fuck. They are not going to be sent to his school. I'm going to keep them here in the house. And if the teacher has a problem with it, then I guess we'll be having to discuss that when school starts. But I am not providing for every child in the class.
Serious question, are the people that have more than one child okay? Because I only have one and I'm not okay. My son's school supply list came out today and I know I'm getting old. But I don't remember paying $127 in school supplies. Not clothes, school supplies. My parents weren't that big on school supply shopping, and they really didn't have to be. My father asked me the day before school started, hey, did you go get your school supplies? The answer was always no, so he would run me down to the nearest Jewel Osco. Jewel's had folders for 30 cents, notebooks for 50, get a pack of pencils, a pen, and I'm all set for the year. Whatever I didn't have, I borrowed from some poor girl in class that thought I liked her. I'm still trying to survive this summer. This boy eat like it's going out of style and still ain't gained no weight. Basketball season just ended for him and now he's in football and that don't come cheap. And I'm sitting over here trying to figure out how are parents surviving with more than one child. I need to make some more money. I wonder how Danielle feel about me stripping.
Old Navy got uniform shirts for $6. Children's Place got uniform shirts for $7. But if you buy 5 or more, they $5 a piece. This is for the type A mamas. This is for the type A mamas that are going ahead and getting started on their back to school shopping. You know what I'm saying? If you don't give a damn, if you got more time, your kid don't go back to September, just keep scrolling. Don't leave that shit in my comments. Anyway, Nike also has a sale going on right now. Nike has 20% off a lot of shoes that are already marked down. I'm just saying, don't wait. And if you live in one of them tax-free states, Georgia got rid of that shit a long time ago. There's some hating ass niggas here. You know what I'm saying? We don't get tax-free no more. I remember growing up, getting my mama waiting to tax-free weekend. They said, no, thank you. Took it back from us. Anyway, if you live in a tax-free state, I will see when your tax-free weekend is and try to align the sales. But I'm just letting you know. Old Navy and Children's Place have the polos on sale. You're welcome.
Okay, so we're gonna do a little mom rant right now. I am absolutely livid. I took my daughter into Walmart to get a pair of shoes because she says that her Nike shoes are too tight on her. She got some Nike Blazers at the beginning of the school year. Every beginning of the school year, I always get my kids a pair of Nikes, and then throughout the school year, I'll go to like Target or Walmart or whatever to get them shoes. Well, apparently she says this year that she's too good for it. So she complained this morning, like 30 minutes this morning, didn't want to go to school because her Nike Blazers were too tight on her. And I literally took this child into Walmart, and she is 13 years old, and she got on the freaking floor at Walmart. She started crying, saying that all the shoes were ugly and that she wasn't wearing them. And I was like livid at this point. I was like, so you're telling me you're too good for Walmart shoes? And people were staring at me, looking at me as if I was a bad mom. And at this point, I'm not saying anything, and I'm just like keeping my cool, and I'm not talking to anybody else. And I keep looking at her, and I'm like, Ella, try these shoes on, put these shoes on. I don't have any money to get you Nikes. She still is like not putting these shoes on, and she's crying, and she's down in the floor, and like I literally had to like force the shoe off of her. And I had to go pick up my other son. I was like, you're wasting my time, we don't got very much time, let's do this, come on. And these people are now like gathering around me, staring at me, and they're trying to make it where they're not watching me, but I could totally tell they are. And so I finally, like, she puts her foot out, and I like put a shoe on her, and she just is like throwing a fit. Well, I end up just throwing these shoes in the cart. Anyways, I had to pause. So she just kept not putting on these shoes. I had to force it on her foot. And she is like almost have me in tears now because I can't afford Nike shoes. And an elderly woman like looks at me and rolls her eyes, and I turn around, I'm like, do you want to buy her shoes? Do you know what she's crying about? She's crying because she's too good for Walmart shoes. That's what she's crying about. And I literally at this point took her Nike Blazer that was in the floor, I threw it in the shopping cart, threw those shoes in the shopping cart, and I just started walking. So she's trotting behind me with one foot, one shoe on, one nothing on the other foot. I need my shoes, I need my shoes. I'm sorry, but I'm that mom. Yeah, that's my mom rant.
Brady got a Chromebook for school last year. I bought him a new Chromebook because that's just what they take to and from. I feel like it's easier to have our own, even though you can use the schools, because then it syncs up to our home printer and all of those kinds of things. We had it for a year. It won't turn on. And so we went to Best Buy. The minute the Geek Squad touched the computer, she turned on and booted up. He played around with it for like 15 minutes, and he's like, there's nothing wrong with your computer. So we get home and we're like, well, that was crazy. Won't turn on again. He can't get it to turn on. So we're going to go back to Best Buy. If this thing turns on again, we've got a serious Chromebook gremlin in our house. Heading into Best Buy, here's the deal. People have a bad hair day. What do? They put it in a messy bun. What happens when your hair is short like mine? I look like Sally Field. I don't get to do a messy bun. It's not fair in the land of hair. It's not fair in the land of hair. You know, that rhymed a little bit too well. Best Buy now thinks we are crazy people. We're like, you know what, here's the deal. Like, maybe we have a gremlin at home, but we can't get the Chromebook to turn on. And the guy's like, why don't you open it up for us? Brady opens it up. It turned on instantaneously. And I just stood there in my Sally Field hair in disbelief. and was like, well, thanks for your time, and we left. I don't know what else to do.
You know what really gets me about all the price surging that we're seeing is that it doesn't have to be that way. They purposely wait for these big events to happen to us so that we panic, and then they increase prices and then use these big events as the excuses to why they had to increase prices. When realistically, they don't have to increase prices because they already had record profits in the first place. For example, the gas prices don't have to be this high. They're using the war to say that this is why prices are going up, but realistically, that's not why they're going up. Flight prices don't have to be this high either. They use this war once again to raise prices, and they make it seem like they're being forced to do these things when realistically they could eat the cost for a little bit and still make money, but they just choose not to. They'd rather squeeze us for every single drop they could get versus just eat the cost, and they would still make money that way. They'd probably actually make more because if prices are cheaper, people are more likely to buy. The same way how when the pandemic happened, all they did was raise prices for groceries because they knew people were panicking and desperate, and then never brought them down again. The same way how everything is priced based on tariffs, even though tariffs were ruled illegal, and prices never went down again. They wait for moments for us to panic and then raise prices so that we panic even more.
You know what I have no patience for right now? The people that are saying, oh, it's just 0.001% of the budget. It's a negligible amount of money when it comes to the grand scheme of our tax dollars. The things that they are uncovering right now that we are actively spending money on as taxpayers are ridiculous. You don't need to defend it. You don't need to die on that hill. I promise you. You don't have to ascribe to the taxation for taxation's sake and spending for spending's sake. You don't have to do it. We should not be spending money on researching bubble wrap and stress. We should not be spending money to fund musicals overseas. And I don't hate musicals. I love a good musical. Did you get to see the musical? I didn't. Listen, if a few cents comes out of my tax dollars and I get a ticket to Guys and Dolls when they come through town, we can have that conversation, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about putting on shows in other countries. Listen, I get the argument that this is pennies on the dollar type stuff, but it's still important stuff. We shouldn't be spending the money. And if you take that position, I would ask you this. Do you want to talk about the big stuff? Do you want to talk about Social Security? Do you want to talk about Medicare? Do you want to talk about the military? We can talk about those things. Those are the big ones. But just throwing your hands up and shouting when they start talking about looking into spending, like no spending can be discussed. You freak out the moment that happens. You don't want us to audit any government spending. But individuals should be audited if they receive $600 from PayPal in a year. Like, come on. That doesn't make you look credible.
Back to school shopping tells us something interesting about the American household. Family are still spending. Kids still need backpacks, shoes, clothes, notebooks, and technology. Schools doesn't wait for price to come down, but the way parents are shopping is changing. They are starting earlier. They are comparing shoe stores. They are waiting for sales. They are buying essential first. They are reusing what they can, and they are thinking much harder about whether something is actually necessary. And that's why the receipt can be misleading. If you look at only one number, total spending can remain enormous, while individual families become much more cautious about every purchases. The National Retail Federation expects K-12 back to school spending to reach a record for $3.3 billion in 2026, with family spending an average of $864 per student. So this isn't story about parents suddenly refusing to spend money on their children. It's a story about parents trying to stretch that money further, because back to school shopping has become something more than a yearly tradition. For many families, it is another moment when the cost of everyday life become impossible to ignore. How much did back to school shopping cost you this year? And what was the most expensive item? Tell me in the comment section. I will see you in the next video. Thank you and God bless.